What's up guys, Jeff from Sorta Healthy here. And today we'll be talking all about how to program for small group personal training sessions. By the way, semi-private training sessions are pretty much the same thing as small group training sessions, so consider this a video on both. Anyways, small group training sessions consist of roughly 2 to 6 people, and they provide clients with a more affordable alternative compared to one-on-one training. They also allow you, the trainer, to potentially train more clients, which is usually a good thing. This all being said, it can be overwhelming to train multiple clients at once. I know that the first few times that I trained multiple clients at once, I was a little bit intimidated, and there was definitely a little bit of an initial learning curve. In my private studio over the years, we've developed a system for training small groups that is both simple and effective. And throughout today's video, I'll be showing you how we handle these small group training sessions. That way you can be extra prepared when you go to do them yourself. In this video today, we'll be referencing the workout chart that we use in my personal training studio when training multiple clients at once. This chart is free for all of you to download and use as you see fit. It serves us well every single week through many different sessions, and I'm sure you'll find it helpful too. All I ask in return for the chart and all the useful information that we're providing here today is that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. This is the best way to support this channel, and this channel is a free resource for all fitness professionals. Thank you very much for that support, everyone. I really do appreciate it. It's what keeps us doing our thing over here at Sorta Healthy. So I've come up with a list of 6 things to do in small group or semi-private personal training sessions that will help you be successful and get your clients good results. All the things that we discuss in this video are in no particular order. One thing you'll want to do is to make your small group sessions feel as similar to one-on-one training as you can. I think it's fairly obvious that one-on-one training is viewed as a premium service, and large group training or classes, well, they're viewed as a basic service. If we look at pricing, it's not that uncommon for one-on-one sessions to cost $100 or more, where that would be a pretty insane price for a large group session or a class at a gym. It's pretty obvious as to why one-on-one sessions cost as much as they do compared to classes. You're getting the undivided attention of a fitness professional, and you're getting a plan that's fully customized to you. When you're doing a small group session, things are of course a little bit less customized to any one person. This is because there are multiple people being trained at once. Duh. That being said, there should still be certain things in place that make clients feel like they're getting quite a bit more than that basic experience that is the standard gym class. Essentially, small group or semi-private training, well, they're intermediate services that we want to make feel as premium as possible. So how do we accomplish that? Well, it all starts in the initial consultation. Try to do the same initial consultation with small groups that you do with individual clients. If members of the small group want to come in together and do their initial consultation together, great, we can do that. If they'd rather come in alone for their initial consultation, I'm okay with that too, and you probably should be as well. Even though doing an initial consultation with each member of a small group isn't the most time-efficient way to get things done, it will give us a chance to build a connection with each of the clients participating in the small group. Having these connections with members of the small group will pay off in many ways later on. Beyond that initial consultation, make sure to treat small group personal training clients the same way that you treat your one-on-one personal training clients. Most of the time, you want to greet people by their names, always check in with them to see how they're progressing with their fitness goals, always be doing things to try and maintain that connection that was built in the initial consultation. Simply asking your small group clients how they're doing or how their family is doing or something along those lines can go a long way. Also, things like weekly weigh-ins, talking about nutrition, all of that extra stuff surrounding training sessions, well, do all of that stuff with small group clients just like you would with one-on-one clients. Of course, you won't spend quite as much time on any one of these things with a single member of a small group, but you should really be trying to give each member of the small group some individual attention. No single member of the group will get as much of your attention as a one-on-one client, but you'll still have to do your best to give everyone enough of your attention to keep them all happy. And make no mistake, generally speaking, clients who do small group training, they do want some of your attention. They'll want form correction and feedback on things they're doing well, or maybe they'll want feedback on things they're not doing as well. Where you're focusing your attention is important, and it's something that directly ties into what we're talking about next. In your small group training sessions, compound movements should come early within your workouts, and they should receive extra attention. For example, let's say I have to train 3 clients, and one of the exercises in that 3-person session is the hex bar deadlift. That's a big exercise that requires precise technique technique, and most likely extra coaching. What I should do is pair that deadlift up with some less complicated exercises or some exercises that I already know my clients have a good handle on. So maybe while client A is deadlifting, client B will be working on band pull-aparts, and client C will be doing dumbbell rows. I need to keep a close eye on all three clients, but most likely I'll be standing closest to that client who's doing the deadlifts, and most likely I'll be giving that client the most feedback. Again, I am keeping tabs on all three, but I am keeping a closer eye on the deadlift because that's the movement that's typically going to be the toughest to master and the one where the most could go wrong with improper form. As with any form of training, you should be doing those big compound movements, like the deadlift, early into your sessions. You want clients at their freshest when they're doing these bigger, more complicated exercises. This brings me to the next thing that will help you be successful when working with small groups. This one seems obvious enough, but it is something that I see trainers struggle with. Anyways, when doing small group sessions, be ready to have clients working on different exercises for part of the session, and then the same exercises for a different part of the session. The flow of a small group session is a little bit different. Like we stated before with the deadlift, some exercises require extra coaching. Therefore, usually you'll only want one compound move that requires instant feedback at a time. Having to mix and match different exercises extends beyond that though. Maybe I only have one battle rope or one TRX or one box for step-ups at my disposal. If I'm training that same 3-person group, one thing I could do is pair all 3 of these exercises together. In fact, if I don't program things this way, it'll be really hard to get all 3 of those exercises done with this group. At the end of the day, programming for these small groups is harder than it would be for just one client. Due to this, when I'm working with a group of 3 or more, I generally take the station approach to training clients for most of the session. The example where one person is using the TRX, one is doing step-ups, and one is using the battle ropes is what I'm referring to by stations, by the way. If I'm having clients do smaller exercises like band pull-aparts, bicep curls, or core moves towards the end of the session, at that point, most of the time, everyone is doing the same exercise at the same time. Some clients may be doing easier or harder versions of the same move though, depending on their skill level. It can take a little practice jumping between clients doing different exercises for part of the session, and then having them do the same exercises for another part of the session, but mastering both aspects here is important when it comes to delivering an effective small group session. The next thing we're talking about here is an important one. When you're working with small groups, you want to try to pair people together who have similar goals and similar backgrounds. If some members of the group are far more physically capable than others, it can be pretty tough to coordinate things in sessions. Because of this, in my studio, we try to match people with other people who have similar goals and experience levels when we're building small training groups. And of course, I would recommend that you try to do the same thing. This being said, you'll still never have 2 clients who are exactly the same. So even though you'll initially try to pair similar people together, you'll still have to modify things pretty often. For example, if I'm working with 4 middle-aged women who all have minimal exercise experience, and all of them are in the same shape roughly, but one of them has bad knees and one of them has a bad shoulder, then that will definitely change the way I have to structure sessions. I may have 3 out of 4 clients do lunges, but the client who has bad knees, well, maybe I'll have them do lateral band walks or Romanian deadlifts instead, since each of those exercises puts a lot less pressure on the knees. I may have 3 out of 4 clients do dumbbell bench press, but maybe I'll have that client who has a shoulder issue do an extra pulling exercise instead, since they're generally a bit easier than pushing moves on the shoulders. Like we said, try to put similar clients together, but be ready to modify when things don't line up perfectly, because they never do. This next part here is where a lot of trainers screw up when it comes to small group training sessions, and it's not hard to see why, because this next part is challenging. Basically, you'll want to progress small group clients' workouts the same way you'd progress one-on-one clients' workouts, or you'll want to get as close as possible to that. And this kind of brings us back to the whole trying to make small group training, which is a more intermediate offering, to feel as much like a premium offering, aka one-on-one training, as possible. Of course, full-on exercise programming is important enough to have its own place on this list, so here we go. So now we're checking out the workout chart that I use with 2- and 3-person training groups. If you train groups larger than that, you could use this chart as an inspiration for creating your own chart, but I think you'd have a tough time fitting more than 3 people's information into one of these boxes. This chart is meant to be printed off and written on with pencil. I'm only showing how things work on the computer because that's easier for filming purposes. Anyways, we're looking at this chart because we're talking about progression. Progression in small group training should be very similar to one-on-one training. That being said, progression is harder harder because you now have to progress multiple people at once. So we have session number, phase, date, and warm-up notes right here. And if we scroll down to the squat, we can see in this 3-person group that one person was squatting with two 12-pound dumbbells. That's why you see a 12 and a bi right here. And that person did 12 reps for 2 sets. Another group member did the exact same thing. And the third person in the group is newer to working out, so she did no extra weight, so this would just be body weight. That's why there's a 0 here. She still did 12 reps for 2 sets. When we did squats again 3 days later, Abby found them a little bit too easy in that first session, so we increased her number of reps here, so she went from 12 to 15 reps. Lisa found them medium difficulty, so she stuck with her 12-pound dumbbells, and she stuck with her 12 reps. And Karen was ready to start adding a bit of weight to her squat, and that's why you see a 5 by here, so she was using 2 5-pound dumbbells for her squats this time around. Each client did 3 sets of squats in this workout, as opposed to the 2 sets in this previous workout, but that was just because we had less lower body moves on this day overall compared to this day. But anyway, this pattern would keep progressing slowly over time. We'd keep adding reps some days, other days we would add some weight, and again, that would just be to progress our clients forwards. You see a similar pattern in the deadlift between session number 1 and session number 3. All 3 of these clients did a little bit more weight in session number 3 than they did in session number 1. If we go down to lunge, the W here stands for walking. So all 3 clients did this exercise with body weight, and then they did 12 reps for 2 sets. By the way, if it wasn't clear already, A stands for Abby, L stands for Lisa, and K stands for Karen. Abby is the most advanced of the 3. Most likely she would get some dumbbells next time we did this walking lunge. For leg curls, all 3 of them are doing the exact same thing, so we didn't even differentiate here by letters or names. All 3 of them are doing stability ball leg curls for 15 reps and 2 sets. If we go down to band walk, this would be the lateral band walk. This number here stands for poundage of the band, and because nothing progressed from session 1 to session 3, that means everything was suitably challenging with these 2 exercises between those sessions. If things are pretty challenging already, then we can kind of leave them where they are for a little bit longer. And if we scroll down the chart here and we look at some of the upper body things such as rows and bench press, we see some of these same progressions play out. We've added extra reps between sessions here, and we've done pretty much the exact same thing down here with rows too. For bar push-ups, we lowered the bar a notch for everyone, which makes them harder as well. We're still having clients do some core work and some other exercises here shown at the bottom of the chart too. We don't need to differentiate between clients as much for this section of the chart, so we're not. At least for right now, when it comes to these accessory movements, these clients are all doing the same thing. Anyways, we're not digging into all the details of how this chart works. We're not getting into phasing and some of the other programming details today. I've got other videos for that, like this one right here. My objective in showing you this 2 to 3 client chart is 1, to show you that a free chart is out there for you to download and use, or at the very least, you can use it to get ideas for something you'll create on your own. And 2, I want you to understand that you do need to progress things for small group clients. They're paying for small group training, not standard gym classes filled with tons of people. Anyways, enough of this chart for now. Back to the rest of the video. The last thing that we'll talk about when it comes to small group personal training really doesn't have as much to do with programming, but it is something that helped us to be extra successful at forming small groups for training. So we'll just consider this a bonus tip. But anyways, encourage clients who have significant others or friends or family members who might be interested in training to try out small group sessions. Pretty much all the small groups that we have in my studio now are couples or siblings or friends, and when you have people coming in together that know each other, they oftentimes do a pretty good job of holding each other accountable even outside of sessions. I've had a lot of very successful husband and wife couples simply because having both parties on the same page, working towards a common goal of improving their health, reduces the chances of someone bringing home pizza and ice cream or something to sabotage the other person. So basically, encourage people to bring in their significant others or people close to them to try out small group or semi-private training. Don't be all obnoxious and in your face about it, but if the opportunity arises, remind people it's a service that you offer. The monetary barrier to entry for small group training is relatively small, so people are usually willing to give it a shot if someone they know is already coming in and enjoying themselves. And that is all that we have for today, everyone. Do you guys do small group or semi-private sessions with your clients? Make sure to let me know down in the comments, and also make sure to let me know your thoughts on these types types of sessions in general. Adding small group training to our studio has certainly made us more successful, so I'd consider looking into small group training if you aren't offering it yet. Anyways, if you haven't already, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, because it does help the channel to grow, and that allows me to create more free content for all of you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, stay sort of healthy.